Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we are specifically going to talk about American politics and specifically how we make a better platform for government by interacting with the teachers of our children in K through 12. Okay, as parents. Okay, all right. So let's dive into this. So the reason why we're going to talk about this today is I have been watching Madam Secretary. If you are a political wonk, and frankly, if you're listening to this channel, it's highly unlikely you're not. You should absolutely give Madam Secretary, which is currently on, which is right now which you can watch right now on Netflix. It's really quite excellent. I've really been having a wonderful time enjoying the show. It's really it's amazing. It does a fantastic job of showing you what the role of Secretary of State is, and it's one of the reasons why people love studying American presidents. Is it's a tour of American history as far as progress of the nation, technology, conflict, culture. Right? If you just pay attention to that one key aspect, the presidents, it's going to connect you to almost everything else in American history. And the Secretary of State, which is the focus of the Madam Secretary show, is the same thing. By showing you the story of this Madam Secretary, Elizabeth, her name is Elizabeth in there. She is a very, very thinly veiled cover for Hillary. Right? Now, she is absolutely a different and distinct character from Hillary, but by maybe 10%. They only differ Elizabeth from Hillary herself by 10 to 20%. So I would say 80 to 9, I would say 80%. 80% of Madam Secretary Elizabeth is absolutely, bar none, just very, very simple and very direct. Very direct. It's Hillary. It's just now, but there is a 20% difference, and that difference is, it's important to acknowledge that difference and see that it's there. But the reality is, it's very, very clear that that we are seeing the story of Hillary Clinton told through Madam Secretary Elizabeth. And one of the most interesting aspects of the show that I thought was just brilliant was this. It shows how Elizabeth interacts specifically with her daughters and sons in high school and junior high, right? So basically, Elizabeth has 3 kids. She has 2 daughters and 1 son. Her oldest daughter is in college, and her younger, by the way, spoilers for Madam Secretary, her oldest daughter is in college, and her youngest son is in specifically junior high, like later grades of junior high, and her oldest daughter and her middle daughter is in high school. And one of the things that happens is her oldest daughter and her youngest son are in a Quaker school, and it really shocked me how direct this was, in that they show that Elizabeth put them in a Quaker school, a private Quaker school. That's important. That is very, very important. Elizabeth, super liberal, archetype liberal in this show, says, no public school for my kids, private school only. In fact, a Quaker school, pacifist, which will allow, and those pacifist Quakers will fully validate my pacifism that I want to teach my kids, because I'm a super liberal, right? And so super liberals are like, they are super pacifist in that any tools that you would use, like if you're a super non-pacifist, you have specific tools in your house, right? But pacifists don't want those tools allowed. They don't want those tools in their house, and they don't want those tools allowed for anyone else in America, right? They should only be for the government. Those tools should only be for the government, for soldiers and police, government, U.S. soldiers and U.S. police, right? And so, so she puts them into this Quaker school, and it's really, really so fascinating, right? She is the worst education parent I have ever seen in my life in this show. And what really blew me away was Elizabeth is the protagonist, right? And so they show clearly that basically Elizabeth's interaction with the school and with the principal of the school is, I'm going to do nothing for this school, and you're going to do everything I want constantly. A perfect example of this is Elizabeth and her husband, they are required to do 3 hours of volunteer work every year to remain in the school. And if they don't do that work, they are to be kicked out. Their students are to be, their children are to be ejected from the school, no longer allowed to attend there, because their parents aren't engaged parents in the school by showing a minimal amount of engagement, 3 hours a year. And the show presents us, showing us that Elizabeth is not only disrespectful to the principal, the Quaker principal of the school, she is saying, I, because I'm the Secretary of State, should have no obligation to do the minimal 3 hours of volunteering, and she has to be threatened to the point of the principal saying, I will eject you, and you're a Secretary of State. I understand you deal with world leaders, but I will eject your son and daughter if you don't get in here and do your 3 hours. The fact that Elizabeth made the principal go that far to say it to her is just absolutely shocking, right? Now, the principal did say it through her kids, but the principal's like, you need to tell your parents, if you guys want to keep going here, tell your parents to get in for these 3 hours, because I will quit. I'll get you out. And so the show presents that the structure for engaged, educated liberals should be: you send your kids to school, you do nothing, and any ask of you to do anything for your kids, and the education being on anyone but the principal of that school is absolutely unacceptable. It is the message of the show. I was so shocked to see this, right? And it was really, really shocking, right? Now, we're trying to fix leadership in America. It's thoroughly broken. Leadership in America has been cracked, and it is in pieces on the ground, right? So how do we get good leaders in America? Well, we have to start to hack the people. We have to make it so that the people of America have enough information. Actually, they have the information they need. We have to convince people that they need to be better, right? And that they need to be less focused on distractions and less focused on shiny golden people, and more focused on gritty, uncharismatic, less exciting leaders who have wisdom and nobility, right? And so one of the ways we do that is I'm going to do it right now. If you're a parent, you have got to stop siding with your children against teachers, right? We have got to make sure that we side with teachers when teachers come and say, your student is doing this, your student is doing that. Our questions cannot be to those teachers. We have to accept that that the teachers are telling us the truth, and that our children are the problem. And the reason why is this has been 100% shift. When I was a kid, the last vestiges of these days existed. And if my parents told if any of my teachers told my parents anything, I was going to hear it that night, right? But now it's the exact opposite. It's exactly what was shown on Madam Secretary. The parents line up with the kids and go against the teachers. This has to be broken. If we're going to have a strong government, if we're going to be able to elect leaders, we need students who have been educated by teachers that are there specifically to teach them, right? And every time we side with parents over our kids, every time we side with our kids over teachers and make it a parents and kids versus a teacher situation, we are telling our children that the structure that we have chosen to put them into, right? We choose where our kids go to. They either go to public school or they go to private school, right? But and even now with online schooling, we choose where our kids go, right? So if you didn't like your kid, going to a public school, you can put them through a public cyber school, right? So we make these choices. And so we can no longer say this school has done a bad job putting the right teachers in place. If that's the case, it was on us as parents to put them into the right school, or a better school, or a different school. Now, if you've done that, if you transferred to a different school, and you're still having these issues, then this video isn't for you. But if you chose where your kids go to school, which we all have, right? Unless you've done a transition and you're still having this problem, then you get a free ticket out of this conversation. But if you haven't done that, you have got to side with teachers when they come at you and say your kid has a problem, right? And you've got to fix that problem with your kids. I could not believe the message of Madam Secretary, this idea that Elizabeth, the protagonist, was saying, I put my kids into school, I wave them goodbye, and I don't do anything beyond that. And that is the correct structure for school, and the education of my child is fully on that principle. And they serve me, I don't serve them. It's outrageous. I couldn't believe what a dark, frankly, incredibly, just a very, very bad message that was in this Madam Secretary. I couldn't believe, I thought, am I missing something here? But it's there. It's just absolutely stunning that this is in place, on this whole thing. So all that is my opinion. I'd love to hear your opinion. Do you think that the structure for how we side, whether we side with our kids or we side with the teachers, should be different? I'd love to hear your opinion in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.